So welcome, Kirsten, to this discussion. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thanks, Matt, and thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it as well.
So I think just for our audience, it's probably kind of worthwhile me setting out why and what led us to this point of having this discussion. So a few weeks ago, we met and we had an introductory discussion about the work that you do with organizations, with individual leaders as a coach and a trainer in the field of menopause. And I think within a space of about 20 minutes, I learned so much. And I started to think about the work that you do and the impact on the work that we do, and particularly about how organizations attract, select and retain women leaders in the FE sector. So that's kind of what's got us to this point today. And being frank, when you talked about women leaving the workforce because of menopause, it actually frightened the life out of me, because leadership attraction and leadership retention in the FE sector is an issue, you know, and it is a real challenge that we have. So that's kind of why we're here. And obviously at FE Associates, we like to showcase the work of individuals and organizations that we think could have benefit to the wider sector. So we're really pleased to be showcasing your work today. So I suppose the best place for us to start is for you to introduce yourself, Kirsten. Tell us about you, your work, and what got you to the point of doing this work.
Okay, well, thanks then, Matt. I'm really pleased that our conversation had such an impact on you. And I get told that quite a lot. I'm very frank, I'm very open, and I will keep having the menopause conversation because it is important, and it is one of the most impactful things we can do is talk about it, and talk about it with your family, your friends, with your work colleagues, whoever, and talk respectfully about it and with an inquiring and curious mind. That being said, so I'm Kirsten. I run my own business, Kirsten Trussell Coaching and Consultancy. I've been doing that for nearly 3 years now. I used to work in the world of strategy and policy. I've worked for a local enterprise partnership. Prior to that, worked for a local authority and was very outward facing in my role. I've worked very closely with the world of education and skills throughout my life, throughout my sort of 30-year working history, really. Started off as a teacher myself, and ended up working for a young person's charity, helping young people who are disengaged from education to move into more mainstream education. I love working with people. That's my kind of that's my passion. That's my passion in life. And so moved through, ended up at Coast Capital Local Enterprise Partnership, working really, really closely with, as I said, with education and skills, and very front-facing role. You're talking to people on a daily basis, presenting and doing workshops, doing consultations, out and about all of the time. And I guess one day I started to notice I was struggling. Something that had always come naturally is to stand in front of a classroom, talk to students, talk to adults, and then all of a sudden I couldn't do it. I was struggling to remember what I was there for. I was struggling to remember my name. I was struggling to remember people's names in the audience that I'd known for a long time, and the anxiety kicked in as a consequence of that. I didn't really understand what was going on. And it's very difficult to stand in front of a room full of people when you don't actually, you can't remember what you were going to say next. I wouldn't have been able to do this, for instance. Right. By now I'd have stumbled and not known what was coming next. So that was kind of the onset of menopause, really. Started to notice other things. I'd become, the pressure would get too much for me. I'd get quite very anxious, lots of mood swings, lots of brain fog, so really struggling to concentrate, and it was impacting my role. And I it coincided with a questioning of kind of where I wanted to be in my life and what I wanted to be doing, and was my job meeting my needs anymore? Was it enough people focused for me? And I could go on for a very long time, but sort of long story short, to get to what I'm doing now, I ended up leaving my job. So kind of that comes to what you were saying about retention in the workforce and in the FE workforce. There wasn't enough in place for me. So this, we're talking sort of 3.5 years ago. There wasn't enough being done in the workplace where I was to support me, to enable me to stay. I was having to do it all myself. I had to educate other people. I had to write the menopause policy. I had to tell people, senior people in meetings that I was in, and a lot of males, this is what's going on for me. And it was hard. And it got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. And I went part-time. That wasn't enough. And eventually I was so overwhelmed, so stressed. So I was nearing burnout. And so I basically just took the decision. I took some time off, took the decision to leave and to kind of find my way in the world, probably starting off as a freelancer and then sort of working out what to do next. And because I'd talked so much about the menopause very openly and honestly, I then started getting people contacting me from the world of further education and skills to say, would you be able to come and talk to our staff? We've got a group of women who are experiencing going through menopause, and they'd really like to talk to someone who's going through it, who knows and understands. And gradually that happened a few times, and I gradually built up an offering to colleges, training providers, anyone really linked to the world of FE and skills around menopause. So I'll do online work, I'll do in person. I much prefer in person, because I don't know, it just helps to be in the room with people, helping raise awareness, talking and training managers, training menopause champions, offering coaching to just help everyone in the organisation to get an understanding of what menopause is and how it affects people, who it affects, kind of the legislation sitting around it, and what you can do to help those people in the organisation who are experiencing it.
There are a couple of reflections. I mean, first is, I suppose, the boldness of the decision that you took, but in some ways, I suppose it also sounds like, well, you kind of didn't have a choice in some ways, but nevertheless, very, very bold and very brave, and there aren't many women that would have been as bold. And then the second thing I wonder is, do you think, hindsight's a great thing, and whilst you're thoroughly enjoying the work that you're doing now, I wonder if the support was in place, whether you would actually have stayed. I don't know whether you've got any reflections on that, really.
Yeah, as you say, hindsight's a brilliant thing. I probably would have stayed longer. I probably wouldn't have left when I did. But I think there was something deeper going on within me. And actually this also comes back to menopause. It comes back to an aging in a positive way, positive aging, maturing. I've just been reading, I'll talk about this book in a minute, it's back to front, but it's called Menopause Brain, and I've just been rereading a few chapters of it, and there's the terminology they use in there is menostart rather than menopause. Right. And looking at menopause as a period of kind of an emergence of resilience. And for me, it's been about rediscovering my identity, and remembering who I was when I was younger, and the values that I had then and I still have now, and those values got lost somewhere along the way. And actually I think that was always there. That had gotten to a point where it was starting to kind of knock on the door and say, actually, come on, this isn't right, this isn't fulfilling your needs. And I actually had coaching before I left my job, and I thought I was having coaching to find another job, And when I had coach, and this is often the way, when I had coaching, I ended up with a better understanding of who I was and what I wanted from life, and with a very clear dream in my mind, which is not what I'm doing at the moment, but at some point I see myself doing that, which is getting a small holding, taking in rescue animals and working with people in need of respite. And
okay,
yeah, so that's my dream.